Funny enough, guys, this is not the first time I've recorded this video. In fact, it's my third. So for those of you who need a little lesson on the top of this before we jump into the best legends in this season, just know that sometimes the amount of effort you spend doing something or thinking about something doesn't actually impact the results of whether you get what you want or not. I've spent hours and hours doing this over and over again, trying to work out editing it, uploading it, and things have just not allowed it to be. So in some ways, it's a good reminder that just getting it out there, doing it. You got an idea, don't need, you don't need to have it perfect. You don't need it to be exactly the way you want, because sometimes the best stuff never comes out that way. Now, moving on to this tier list, I want to be very frank, very simple. I'm not going to do a lot of gameplay. I'm coming off of 2 days of broadcasting the ALGS competitive season, and we have our regional finals coming up this week. So I thought I'd give you a heads-up overview on the best legends. We're talking casual, we're talking ranked, but we'll also be talking about where they stand in the great landscape of this game, which is, of course, the highest of high levels. And this is, for an overview, the most wide open meta that we've ever seen. I think in Apex, there's been a few wide open metas, but we're coming off of the most closed meta that we've seen in a long time. Now it is just opened up, and there are so many different options. So I'll be very, very mindful to include whether a character has a lot of options or whether they're kind of hard stuck in this certain position. I love this new wild card, this new OP as well, and let me show you how they'll be used. First of all, let's go back to what was defining the old meta. We're going to put these two together because they kind of clump up together in the way that you should think about them. Bloodhound and Bangalore. They were both driving the success of the high-level pro meta, ranked meta, and pretty much everything that you would see in Apex because of two reasons. There was a strong shift away from getting digital threats onto SMG weapons. Those are the R9, that's the car, the Volt, things that you're probably familiar playing with. At past times, an SMG would be able to use a digital threat, meaning if you had an R99 late game, you could probably see through smokes and fight against a Bangalore pretty easily. So you don't need a character like Bloodhound who could see through smokes. You just have the weapon. When that weapon went away and they took away the ability for the R99 and weapons like that to actually have digital threats, then the only way to really see through smoke guaranteed was with Bloodhound's ultimate. Now, Bloodhound was popping ultimate accelerants, getting a lot of value from those from teammates, just giving it to that player. And it became where Bangalore was your defensive legend. Bloodhound was your guaranteed character who could see through Bangalore smokes on your team and on opposing teams. And the scan would give you so much value for your teammates that pretty much you could fight through smokes. You couldn't see anything, but Bloodhound allowed you to see something. And that was kind of the way the meta went. We had other characters that would fill in roles in that zone. I'm trying to spot one out right here. Probably Wattson at Reject. We saw a little bit in Split 1. We saw some of that. Lifeline was another character that kind of jumped into there. We saw a little sprinkling of an attempt at Catalyst, but she became much more prominent later. So all of these things started to give us an answer that really the only meta shift that was ever going to happen was if Bloodhound and Bangalore were nerfed or changed in some significant degree. That did occur. And so here's the major shift. If you're late to it, Bloodhound can no longer see in their ultimate through Bangalore smokes. So it takes away a huge element of Bloodhound and drops Bloodhound to an A tier character. Now, this character still has everything. They've reworked a little bit of the ultimate so you can get some more scans and ultimate charge easier off White Ravens. That's just to say that it's no longer a must-have character. Now, we're still seeing some characters actually use Bloodhound, and I think Bloodhound is a great pick for casuals, for pros, and for ranked grinders, because that Q, that ability to just get a Bloodhound scan off is so valuable in fights. You're never going to go wrong. And if you're a fragger and you like to get in there and find some kills, this is the character for you. So Bloodhound's still very, very good, but no longer a necessity to pair with Bangalore. Bangalore, however, is still a necessity in the meta. And if there was a legend, I would say OP, a legend that kind of is in that close to 100% pick rate, it would be Bangalore still. Bangalore has always been a fantastic legend from pro play, ranked play, and of course casual play, and continues to do so. But it was just a matter of the decision of how to use Bangalore when Stormpoint was added as a competitive map that I think really showed the viability to all the levels even more. It was always a good legend, right? Just you have 30% movement speed when people are shooting at you. Your smokes occlude areas. Your ultimate Rolling Thunder buys you time, also sets up for great defensive plays and great offensive plays to force enemies to do something they don't want to do. And any ability in a game that forces an enemy to move from where they want to stay is powerful, especially if it buys time and covers a wide area. Bangalore's ultimate does that while having a medium-sized hitbox, which is super valuable for her and anyone who's playing her, and very valuable in open spaces where zones might end, where you don't have natural cover. The smoke allows that cover to be what you need, and that's the only thing that you really need in that situation. So I think she still stays OP, and she still presents herself, in my opinion, as kind of like one of the top dogs in Apex Legends, and a character that you'll see at the highest of high levels, can translate to almost anything. But now we got to start talking about some legends that have jumped up into that S tier category. I'm doing this backwards because I think, you know what, sometimes I like to do it the other way. We're going to try it this way. Let's see what happens. We'll see if there's any significant impact. Some of the best legends right now in this game. Let's start with Wattson. Wattson is a character that, while you might say is A, I'm going to say is an S tier character. I'm seeing Wattson played in North America, EMEA, APAC North, APAC South, and South America. And so if every region is kind of picking up on it, you could tell that this character does what she needs to do. And why I like Wattson in general right now is because there's a lot of characters in this kind of S tier. Think of it like, well, let's put in a Bangalore, and then we'll put in 2 other characters, right? Well, those 2 other characters, I think Wattson does quite well against. And so part of it is the fact that she's just good in general. Wattson has always been good. I've always referenced the video I made on Wattson, why I felt I tended to win more on Wattson. I think it's because her kit is naturally beneficial to what happens in a battle royale. You want to stay clean and away from any grenades, so you want a room that you could protect and hold. You want people to not go into your room, which is what perimeter security is about, and you want to be hard to hit, which is what her hitbox is. She's one of the smallest characters in Apex Legends. You combine all that into in-game zones where people don't want to move, they want you to move, and you're the hardest to move. Naturally, people's psychology will not try to fight you. If you see a team out in the open and you see a team inside a building with Wattson, who are you going to fight? You're going to shoot the team out in the open. You're not even going to look at the Wattson team. So by de facto, she is beneficial. And I think we saw a lot of value to that in terms of top 5 placements in the lineups and winning this last split one in Los Angeles. Another character that is really exciting to talk about. I just have so much fun talking about this character. This character in my recent tier list that didn't go out was ranked C for me. I just thought the situational complaints about Pathfinder haven't changed. Huge hitbox. A character that excels with individuality, but doesn't bring as much to the team as some of these other legends, with having to deal with the way things have played. As you notice, with a Bloodhound and a Bangalore, and whether you're trying to rock a Caustic next to it, whether you're trying to throw a Catalyst in there, whether you have a Lifeline going on, whatever you're playing with those legends, the truth is you're not moving fast, right? The rotation game of Apex shifted. And so Pathfinder was C. You could probably have put Valkyrie in like a B. And those are legends that excel on moving their teammates very quickly. And I think that's a very powerful thing. However, something has changed with the relaxation of Bloodhound, and with a very random upgrade to the perk that isn't really taken at high level, but is probably taken at ranked, which is the ability to get a knock and reset your tactical after you get a knock, so you can grapple in, knock somebody, and grapple out. That got better. Now you can knock in and you can grapple in and just get an assist and then grapple out. We saw Pathfinder jump in to a part of this meta in high level play. I'm talking ALGS. And this weekend, we have seen Pathfinder secure a spot where I would say you could easily call it S tier. And by S tier, what I'm saying is a character that is being heavily rotated within the top 3 legend choices in this game right now. Now, what a weird thing to go from C to S. Maybe my C was too low. Maybe my S is too high. Could have gone from B to A. Either way, what I've seen is Pathfinder is making a strong comeback in high-level play. And I think in ranked as well. And part of it is that now we're vying for and allowing movement to be a big dictator of when you're successful in Apex. I mentioned that further comp where Bangalore and Bloodhound, they can run fast, but there's no massive blink movement, right? There's not even horizon cues up. Pathfinder's ability to access high ground is changing the way people are playing circles now, and is Energized Zipline, which is the one that's being taken, which gives you 50% damage reduction. 3 months ago, it even gave you damage reduction for when you were in the zone, but I'm not sure if they patched that or not. But any damage reduction on that zipline means players and teams are more than ever able to make difficult rotations out of chokes, find high ground spots they weren't able to play because no Horizon, no Valkyrie, nobody with height, right, for team-wide mobility. Now they can do that. It has given better players the opportunity to access even better moments of greatness. And that's what Pathfinder always is. If you're a ballin' Apex Legends player and you think that you need a character that can give you the most amount of, all right, let me make a play, and if I make a big play, then we can win this, I think Pathfinder's up there. I throw Horizon in there. A Wraith is a character that sometimes can do that. It's a little bit more bait and switch, and that ultimate has to be perfect, but you can make some amazing plays. I think Pathfinder's in that conversation, and we've seen it used in high-level ALGS play. I was really excited about watching it this weekend. It's been picked up quite a lot, and certainly one of the legends rotating alongside Bangalore. Okay, and obviously, grapple and fight. Come on now. What else are we going to do? Let's talk about the other legends that have been kind of jumping in there. This is another one, Fuse. So Fuse has jumped into that S tier column, and S tier again is almost, because I'm putting OP, because I think that's a better, I think having this OP is better for your understanding of the game, because some legends just become the auto 100% pick. And when that happens, they are the character that drives what everyone else is combining their legend picks with. And so instead of saying everyone's good, it's really the Bangalore pick that's happening, and then people filling lineups around it right now. And so that's why I think, like with Bangalore and Bloodhound, and then filling in that third, I think it's better to have this, and S mean those characters that are being played, that are almost must picks, but you have flexibility on your must picks, right? So Fuse is one of the characters that I think has jumped into prominence, and this is actually an interesting one. Fuse was coming in even a few patches before, so you might be wondering why Fuse is so good. Fuse has always had a tilting point of just being able to do enough damage, and if Fuse does enough damage to you, he's a very, very dangerous character. If Fuse's knuckle cluster is mitigated, if Fuse is not able to pressure you with damage, then he's not really that great. But what started to happen was Fuse was making his way into this meta as a way to go, okay, if there's a Bangalore, if there's a Bloodhound, maybe if there's a Catalyst running around, we can't see anything. So what can Fuse do? Well, no one's got any defense, right? So knuckle clusters will hit. While they can move, they can hit. But then we can also throw that mother load down, and while we can stop people who are in that smoke or in that Catalyst ultimate from moving too much, we can also see them, because the mother load ultimate allows you to get vision on those enemies. So in another way, it was more wall hacks, more vision in the occlusion meta. That's what I call it, the occlusion meta, the can't see anything meta. You can't see me meta, basically. Shout out to Tupac. Okay, great song, by the way, but if you're young, don't listen to it. It's got some bad words in there. What am I saying? I listened to that when I was like 12. I was like rapping that as hard as I could, man. Oh, isn't it funny when you have artists that rap about such real life things and you realize you're like 11, like, yeah, man, get me out this place. You know, my wife never gonna let me come back home. You know, you're like, I'm 11. I'm the hardest thing I have to do today is my laundry, if that, you know what I mean? Empty the dishwasher. Yeah, it's he talking about all that. All right, that aside, Fuse is, he took that position that he had in the can't see anything meta, and now he's just even better. He's really a character that's been used a lot. There's something that I'll mention here, and it's something that I think has frustrated a lot of people. There's a technical, I don't know if it's an error, but it's something that happens when Fuse shoots the evac tower with his ultimates. When he shoots the evac tower, there is a huge amount of vision that is given to Fuse, more so than his mother load would normally be giving. Now, it's not like the mother load starts working any differently. It just has a way bigger range. And some people are looking at it like, well, is this an exploit? Is this something that should be allowed? Whether or not, it hasn't stopped, and it's been allowed. So it's been used a lot more. And it's kind of important vision for sure in some of these zones. So that's where Fuse sits. You guys leave me your comments on that one. I don't have much to say about it because it's not my decision. ultimately. And the impact is very hard to tell unless you're watching an individual team's POV. When you're watching it through the ALGS like us and you're bouncing between teams and setting up the big story, it's very hard to tell what a team is getting from that. So I will leave someone else to talk about that for sure. Another legend that has come in, and excuse me, I think this is actually, I don't know about replaced Bangalore, but I think if you say joined Bangalore in that OP conversation, well, here we go. It's Seer. Seer has come back in to the meta in a big way. I think we had a lobby that was 100% pick rate in Seer. And what that means is that the scan meta is still there. We have just replaced Bloodhound with Seer. Yes. And with that, though, there are way more viable options in this S tier for teams that want to prioritize heavier mobility, heavier defensiveness, heavier offensive pressure, alongside the two things that we've been using for so long, which is the ability to scan and the ability to have smokes. Now, Seer is a really good legend. I think if you are a, like someone looking to say, like, what legend should I buy if I don't, I jump into this game and I have some currency? Seer's up there for me. I really enjoy Seer. I think a powerful Q ability, tactical ability makes me feel impactful in a game. I like having information, his heart seeker, which is his ability to determine whether enemies are nearby up to a certain range and see kind of the direction they're at through walls, is very, very valuable. And it essentially means that anyone, especially if you're in high level ranked or if you're in pro play, cannot be a solo and survive. That's one of the things Seer does that Bloodhound doesn't do. Bloodhound has to tactically scan and then choose to do it. Seer can just press his right click on his mouse and hold that down, and he can tell you are behind that rock or behind, he doesn't even know, but he could tell with that passive. So rat play, being that last one alive, trying to get it late into game, it's going to decrease as Seer becomes a part of the bigger meta in the Apex Legends scene. Exhibit is basically the next way to see players while you're in the middle of a fight. So that's essentially, instead of the Bloodhound in the smokes, you've got the exhibit in the smoke, so you can see the footsteps of players who are moving. This does not work, however, for anyone who's crouching, or who is flying. So Valkyrie, Pathfinder on a grapple, won't be able to see them until maybe it's too late. One of the interesting elements about that. Obviously, the tactical is great, and one of the big shifts they made that gave him some quality of life is the fact that he can get 30 seconds off of his ultimate and then also increase the distance of his tactical scan, or increase the duration of it. So you can get benefits on both of your strong abilities versus having to choose either the ultimate or either the tactical on your perk tree. So that gave him a little bit more flexibility. But Seer and Bangalore, they provide the OP legend selections for this week. And kind of until we see a new patch. I mean, we'll see. Okay, moving in. There's gotta be one more. Where is she? Where is she? Where is she, guys? Here she is. Catalyst. Okay, so Catalyst is also an S tier legend, and it's kind of goes without saying. This is the legend that is going to bring that defensiveness to your squad. If you're running Bang, Seer, Catalyst, if you're running Seer, Catalyst, Fuse, if you're doing that, you're going to basically have the ability to see, to occlude, stop people from seeing, and then also pressure or defend or move. And that is kind of how people are aligning the best strategies in Apex right now. Catalyst is a character that, to me, holds down buildings in a way where it's not like a Caustic, where you could destroy realistically a Caustic barrel. Two people shooting at, you could destroy it. A Catalyst throws her ferrofluid doors, and especially if she takes that perk now, I think it's called Ferro Door, can recreate these doors. They're so powerful. It takes 4 kicks to do it, and it really leaves you vulnerable. And so a lot of these plays in high-level rank, like or in the ALJS, like you might have watched, or even in casual play, like you might have been through, where, man, I got like 5 seconds, the zone's closing in, Catalyst throws up that wall. It's like, I can't get through. I got to go around. It's not like, I'll walk through and maybe I'll break through a Caustic barrel, slide in, and at least get a few shots off. It's like, I can't get in. She is a great defensive character. Her wall is the Dark Veil, one of the best abilities in the game. It creates a new playing field, and the smartest of players make the best use of it. So while she's got a rather high skill ceiling, she still has a pretty high floor. She's very effective in anything that she does. Piercing spikes in front of a door, behind a door, on a staircase. Those also hurt so much. They're like running into a Wattson fence or a Caustic gas. She's got a lot going for her, and I think Caustic Catalyst is back in a big way. You'll see her in all levels of play, but specifically higher levels of play. Catalyst tends to not be a casual legend, whereas Fuse, Pathfinder, Wattson, even Bangalore are very casual legends, ranked legends, and high-level legends. So it's interesting that Catalyst doesn't necessarily become that. Maybe it's because she's not a free unlockable character. Maybe it's because it's just not the attractive choice for someone who's trying to jump into the game and get started. But either way, you'll probably just see her more in the ALGS. Okay, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. I'm gonna do our A tier legends here. We're not seeing many of them yet, and I think it's not. I think Bloodhound's funny. We've seen like 2 teams maybe keep playing Bloodhound, but we've seen a team or 2 keep playing Lifeline, specifically Aurora, who famously this last split dropped Hardeki, which we've done some videos about. I'm very surprised that they dropped him, but you know, leave it up to them to make those decisions. Lifeline has been in a good spot. To me, one of my favorite ranked go-to characters, one of my favorite go-to characters in general. You know, Lifeline is just it's kind of a bread and butter choice, right? It's like you can't go wrong with the cheese pizza. Maybe somebody loves pepperoni, maybe somebody loves veggie, maybe somebody loves, you know, barbecue chicken, you know, and on the day, cool. But if you just get a party for like a bunch of people and you just get a bunch of cheese pizza, no one's going to be mad, right? Because all of it has cheese anyway. So I think that's where Lifeline to me shows up. No one's going to get mad that you're playing Lifeline in ranked or casuals or even in the ALGS at this point, because she provides a ton. Her consistency in getting you gold backpacks and gold knockdowns on her 3rd perk for her ultimate, wonderful. The ability to transition into picking up teammates with being able to still apply fighting pressure just with the tap of her E, which I use on my mouse and keyboard. I don't know what it's called on the console, on the controller, is great as well for applying pressure in a game-like situation. And then when you look at her hitbox, she's also comparable to Wattson as one of the smaller characters in the game, alongside Wraith as well. So she naturally kind of wins quite a bit in terms of 1v1s. You know, you'll notice a bullet or two doesn't hit you the same way as when you're playing, let's say, for instance, you know, a bigger character, even a character, you know, the size of, you know, Maggie or Ash or Revenant, something like that. So, you know, remember this and obviously know that Lifeline is a good pick. I think there's really not much more to say. We've talked about her a lot of these seasons. Not a lot of story on her. Where else are we going to put? What else changed? Okay, so another character I think is A, and just is not getting played. It's Horizon. I think Horizon's always an A. I think this has to do with skill ceiling. And what this means is that a character who has a high skill ceiling, I had mentioned that with Catalyst, means that their ability to be good is so high, right? So you could play it at this level, but it's got the capacity to be played at this level. Like chess. You could play chess at a low level, but a chess grandmaster can play at such a higher level than just moving the pieces and making the correct moves. We would call that a high skill ceiling to a game. Checkers has a low skill ceiling because you can only do so much in checkers, right? You kind of will be like, here, you could be the grandmaster of checkers, but you're not going to be that much better than somebody who's like really good at checkers, right? Grandmaster in chess, really good in chess. It's not even close. So what we got to look at is Horizon still brings that element to the game. We're not seeing her played a lot. Ranked, I think you'll still have a lot of success with her, especially if this is someone you've mained. She provides vertical mobility and team-wide mobility. Remember that. It's not just Revenant jumping. It's for your team. It changes things. You get stuck in a building. You don't have a way to get up to the top to challenge your opponent, and you guys are going to be out of bounds. Throw on your Horizon Gravity Lift. I mean, yes, evac towers have kind of, you know, evac towers have done a couple things to characters, and I think Valkyrie and Horizon are 2 of the ones that took the biggest hit because those are the 2 that provided the original, outside of Pathfinder, high-level vertical mobility. And now you could technically evac tower out of that if it's not destroyed fast enough. But I love Horizon. I think she's a great pick, and I hope you guys continue to play her and check her out. And now we move on to another legend that I'm very excited about. Now, for the sake of kind of high-level play, I got to put Maggie a little bit lower, obviously, than Fuse. But for the sake of ranked, I'm going to bring her back up, in my opinion, because I think Maggie is a fantastic ranked character. So for me, Maggie's going to sit in this A class. Because for me, Maggie is one of those characters that brings a ton in ranked, but it doesn't necessarily translate to high-level play right now. But it's the same way that it didn't translate to the meta the way Fuse did. Because Fuse having the ability to, and I'm sorry I forgot about this moment for Fuse. Let me just bring this back to him. The biggest thing that changed Fuse's viability was not his kit. it was his perk that allowed him to see the ring console. This is the biggest element that changed Fuse and kept him viable in this for real as a choice that a lot of players are making, because now they can get ring console information of where the zone will be, and that allows the top players, the IGLs, the in-game leaders, to now know, okay, here's where we got to move and how to go. Normally, if you pick up Fuse and you pick up a Seer and you pick up a Bangalore, you would not have ring console information. And so that allows people to now have that and build some of these more aggressive lineups. So anyways, Maggie is maybe one switch away from that. I think in ranked, these two are pretty similar to me without that perk change. But with that, Fuse jumped up in terms of his tactical availability and benefits to a team. Maggie, I think, is the same way. Riot Drill is a great ability. It forces people to move. Ranked, a lot of people try to find spots, and then that Riot Drill comes in, well, no spot anymore. Wrecking Ball is awesome for movement more than you would think. It's really good at rotating, actually, individually or as a team. And I like the Thermite perk at the end of it. It destroys Gibraltar shields. We're not seeing a ton of Gibraltar anyways, but it's still, let's say we had a shielding kind of composition come back up instead of this can't see anything meta. Well, maybe Maggie starts to actually become a lot more viable because of how many things her Wrecking Ball actually destroys. Plus, the value of a shield goes way down when there is a Riot Drill. So she in just her presence makes it so a lot of characters are wary to come back into the meta because she's such a hard counter to them. Her passive is the only thing that, I don't know if a lot of people are able to benefit from it right now because we just don't see a lot of shotguns. It's Flatlines, it's Nemesis, it's Havocs, it's Hemlocks, right? It's Volts, if anything. G7 Scouts, maybe a 30 here and there, 30-30, but not really. So her passive having more movement speed while using a shotgun, and I think it's faster reloads as well. It's just not going to, it doesn't matter. And so I think that's another thing that's kept her down a little bit. But I still put her in A, and this is largely because of her ranked presence. So just wanted to clarify that. Moving on, another character I think has dropped and fallen a little bit. I'm going to put Wraith. Wraith I had previously at A. For me, Wraith just doesn't do it right now. I love playing the character. I love going back into Apex and going, let me play some Wraith. She feels good naturally, but now that we're talking about the current meta as it is, I think her movement is just a little bit, it's not fast enough. It's not reliable enough. It doesn't have the height. And as an individual, sure, I think it could be beneficial, but for a team, it stops producing the impact that you need, I think. And it's kind of hard to put this into words, but I just think that Wraith really is just a victim of the rest of the meta becoming more aggressive ability based, and hers are more defensive ability based. And as you can see, a lot of the playmaking in these characters, when they throw their Qs out, they're kind of making plays, and let's just talk about these 7, right? Bangalore with Smoke, Seer a Q, Pathfinder a Grapple or a Zip. This is a Knuckle Cluster, a Motherload, a Piercing Spikes, a Dark Veil, a Scan, or an Ultimate, right? You could obviously say with these two, but these are really more the core of the meta. And hers just is going into this defensive void. And while I love that ability, I just think it's fallen off a little bit right now in terms of what you need, what we're really looking for, and what impacts whether you win a final zone. So for that, I'm putting Wraith at B. Still a great legend. I mean, ranked, casual, feel free. I think if you start jumping in to looking at will you see her in pro play, you're probably not gonna see it in most of the regions you watch. NA, EMEA, obviously our size, kind of what we're talking about mostly. Okay, and then moving on, actually, we missed one A-tier legend. I actually do think it's Rampart. So this is what I had Rampart as before, and I think Rampart is actually a character that we see pretty consistently at least once. Now, I don't think this is, you could really make an argument. I think I will make the argument for it that Rampart could go down to B, and part of that is because, well, what's the prevalence? I mean, if you don't see this character played, why are you going to say that she's going to have the capabilities to, be played at this level? Every character potentially can have the capabilities to be played at a high level. Sure, I'll give you that. But we just have seen it. Like Rampart hovers between a B and an A. So whether you want me to leave her here, whether you want me to leave her here, it doesn't really matter. She's almost never been S, will never pretty much be OP. It's not good for the game if a character like that is OP. So, you know, we see a certain team player every single time. They get top 5s quite often, but they're around the 20th spot out of 30 teams that are actually competing. So you do the math there in terms of whether you think Rampart's really valuable. I'll tell you in ranked, you'll see her a lot. I'll tell you in casual, you'll see her a lot. She's really, really good in those scenarios. She's gotten better and better each time. Tons of buffs, but she's probably not going to be a character that you'll see. And by me putting her down here, I give you guys a little bit more of like distance between these, just so you can know. I think it's better to feel the distance of these characters. Though I know some of you will argue with me about that bad boy. Okay, time for, man, let's do some more Bs. Okay, who's in there? We've got, oh, my man right here. Okay, so here's another B, Crypto, and I think this is where we start to have conversations about niche picks. These are kind of almost must-haves, one of these and then filling it in. This is a little bit more like, well, maybe playing to the strengths of your team, squad, really kind of not seen, maybe ranked stars, potential. These are characters you probably won't see much of in high level at all, but in ranked you could certainly see, and aren't actually even the most popular casual players. These don't have the highest pick rates in terms of casual player base, which is interesting. But Crypto stays in this interesting position of providing so much utility and yet still playing the game unlike any other legend in Apex. You got to be willing to sit down and go into a drone and sit in a building and wait patiently. And a lot of people don't log on to Apex to do that. And I think that hurts Crypto being a certain meta choice out the gate, just because it's probably not most people's playstyle. Crypto really becomes a part of the meta when some part of his kit fits really well in the playstyle, and that then forces people to say, okay, we gotta start looking at it. Even then, I think he'll probably end up still being maybe at most a 15-30% pick in a lobby. He won't end up being a 100% pick kind of character. He never has been. But if you like tactical play, if you like being a little bit more defensive, if you like having information, if you like hitting those big juicy EMPs, Crypto's probably okay for you. All right, let's move on. Let's move on, guys. Let's go. We got Valkyrie. We're going to throw Valkyrie into a B. Yeah, it's just not been her meta. Currently, Valkyrie's good individual legend. I thought some of the perk changes would help her. We saw an instant of it being like relevant when some of her perks gave her back her height, her height distance. But what's really interesting is when it came back to movement being allowed, movement being valuable in Apex Legends, Valkyrie just did not hit the cake. Take the cake. She's a skirmisher. She, doesn't provide that kind of ring console beacon. She doesn't provide the ring console or survey beacon information. So she's not, in some of these higher level positions because of that tactical element. And her movement is something that players, because of the evac tower, have learned to play without. And I think while the goal was to say you don't have to have a Valkyrie on every team, it might mean that at this point Valkyrie is not on anybody's team. So let me know what you think about Valkyrie in your games. Are you seeing a lot of Valkyrie? I personally don't. I don't see a ton of Valkyrie anymore. And I just think, we're waiting for the moment where something changes with that meta, something changes with her, something changes with evacs, that we get a chance to take a look at her again. Appreciate you guys for hanging in here. I know it's a longer video, but 25 legends. Even if I talk 2 minutes about a legend, it's 50 minutes long. You know what I'm saying? So we try to move through this, but whew, okay. All right, so let's go to another character. I'm gonna put Conduit here. Conduit is a B. She fills the role very similarly to Valkyrie, where she's got great defensive setup, great early game fights, and can help you do a job, right? Valkyrie can help you move and rotate, and that's going to be Valkyrie's thing. She can also play pretty well individually. Conduit can help you challenge. And so what's happened in the ALGS is we've, instead of encouraging players to challenge early on, where it would create a lot of inconsistency with who is moving forward in our brackets, because these players would bet it all on the very first fight, lose, win, and then none of them make it, right? No, they don't even get a chance to play the game. Conduit's ability for a challenge was really high. So we started seeing in that moment players pick up a Conduit if they knew they were going to go challenge somebody off the drop. what happened in the Split 2 Pro League was we gave players the ability to draft a place they were going to drop before the game started. So there were no more contests. There were pretty much no more ways for this kind of random early game fighting to happen. And so that was Conduit's kind of main place in high level pro play. Now, in ranked play, Conduit is a support. And as a support, you're going to get a lot of value from just running one because you will die and you will maybe be the last one alive. Or you'll get into an early skirmish and you'll use those Conduit Qs, which give you extra shielding for both you and your teammates. And so that'll make that early fight harder for the enemy to win, or at least give you some time to back out. And if you do die, you can reset and craft your teammates' banners, which is such a huge element that she continues to bring to the game. So Conduit's a B, very good character. I don't have a lot of notes for her. Sometimes every character, too, just doesn't have, it's not going to be their meta. She's never quite been the meta, though. I will say they've given her more of like, you know, let's be very cautious about Conduit because her ultimate is good, too. Really, really good. Very hard to get through. So we'll see. I think they're playing that one pretty close to the chest in terms of being very cautious about her. Okay, another legend that I just got to put, we're going to put here in B is Revenant. Now, Revenant's a B for me because Revenant has this incredible relevance in ranked. He is such a ranked grind character, and he's so good at it because ranked is the perfect boiling pot of play styles that an aggressive good player can take people by surprise and basically 1v3 most of these teams. Because the way you stop that is having a bunch of players who know what they're doing or who are in the same style. But when I solo queue ranked, I mean, I might have someone who's a little bit aggressive, a little bit, you know, back offish. So if we're not on the same page, a Revenant comes in, takes the back offish player down. Now I get a little aggressive, but he's got his ultimate on, so he leaps away. Now I'm kind of exposed. A Revenant can really take advantage of a team that is disorganized. And in ranked, you will often find that. And I think also, if you're an individual player and you don't want to worry about like other teammates being the reason why you win or lose a team fight, Revenant is kind of like a solo, you know, he's a solo grinder. And that's all good and fun. Hasn't really been a part of the ALGS in a very long time. I'm not sure there was a moment that he was really a major part of the ALGS. I don't know. Someone remember that? I don't know. Don't remember it myself. Yet this time he is a casual guy, a ranked guy. Revenant, he's a fun legend. I've always really liked playing a lot of Revenant. So if you want to play him, I think you'll definitely have fun. And ranked is where I would suggest trying to get him going because this is certainly a character that can get the job done in ranked. Woof, a very, very fun ranked character for sure. The last B legend that I'm going to throw in here, it's Caustic. Caustic I've actually seen in the ALGS this weekend. So it's hard for me to put a character below a B if they're in the ALGS because it means that the best players in the world see some value in this character. And so you've kind of got to look at, all right, in this moment, are they being played at all? And if they are, then it might be something there. Caustic's always struggled with being either kind of irrelevant or amazing. But when you look across casual play, ranked play, and pro play, I think it's been very, very consistent. Caustic is a defensive icon, I will say, a true masterclass in holding down places, and also has a little bit of offense in terms of that gas canister at the very end with his ultimate that can change the game immediately. A final circle with a Caustic is a terrible nightmare to be in, and as long as you can get Caustic there, you'll be better. Now, I have a conjecture, and I'm not sure if it's right or wrong, but one of the real issues with Caustic, like I said, is that you have to transport this character to a final zone, and then they become super deadly. And remember, when Caustic was around earlier on, you have Bloodhound, right, seeing through that, Bangalore, including that, Bangalore, Caustic, Catalyst, Bloodhound, all these things kind of playing off of each other where it's making it hard to see. Now that that's going away a little bit, and movement is coming back in, could we see Caustic come back in with like Gibby, Caustic, Valk again? I mean, very high level holding positions. It would be tough. It'd be tough against the Fuse. It'd be tough against a Wattson. it would be very, very tough against a Seer, because a Seer silencing people with that Q means that 8 seconds you can't use that ability that you're hoping to use, which is the ultimate that you want to throw. So we'll see, but totally with Pathfinder coming in, it's a sign that maybe there's some more movement involved, that people feel more comfortable getting some team-wide rotation ability, because Caustic on his own, with just walking around, trying to compete with Bloodhounds or Bangalores or other legends like Pathfinder, or even Fuse, who people are sometimes taking like move faster when you hit your knuckle cluster, so you get that 30% speed when you're hitting that as well. He's just too slow, you know, and so getting to these zones is going to be very, very tough for a character like that. Okay, moving on to C-level legends, the C-suite, we like to call it. All right, first one up. I'm going to spend a little bit less time on these as we go down, just because the more interesting things there are to talk about probably happen on the higher end. The lower end is just more of a conversation on what's next. How do these characters get up into more relevancy, and where do I see them fitting in right now? Vantage is a legend that has a lot of potential, and yet just is recovering from a very lackluster introduction into Apex Legends, where people have not gotten over that she's just really not giving too much to a team to take one out of the 3 slots that you have. She's very fun, sniper's dream, can grind ranked pretty well. I've seen people grind ranked with Vantage for hours and hours and hit high diamond, hit masters, hit ranked, or predator in ranked. So it's not impossible. And on a casual level, of course, player, she's fun. Perk tree gave her a lot of quality of life changes, being able to get your bullets back faster off your ultimate accelerant, making the bat movement more reliable or farther, or more versatile when you're jumping to echo. There's value to Vantage that can be brought. And let's not forget about the bonus damage amplification, which is something everyone realizes on Rampart, but no one really thinks about on Vantage. Conceptually, it's hard to take advantage of someone who you're shooting with a sniper and getting bonus damage on, because if you're using a sniper, they're far away. So, I mean, while Rampart can get some bonus damage just shooting through her shields, a sniper means she might be tagging someone that the other players just don't have the ability to follow up on. And if they do, Vantage has to be way in the back, and they have to be split, which is kind of difficult in high-level play. But I have hopes for a character like this one day being a big part of the meta. I think she would be very fun to watch. I think she would actually provide a ton of like individual skill and highlight moments. So I'm still waiting for it. But so far, no dice for Vantage. Very fun legend. Probably won't see much high-level play right now. Another legend that I'm going to put in this category as well. Wow, it's so funny. This C tier was filled with, I'm not even going to lie, this C tier was filled with like Seer and Pathfinder recently. How amazing is that, the changes that have happened in this last split? I'm going to put Vantage there. I'm also going to put Loba here, because I think Loba is a kind of a tried and true character that has been a part of the meta in different ways, different times. She is a good legend, but she gets to the point of being irrelevant because other legends start to be more exciting than her. But 3 things I like about Loba are, you get to play the same loadout every game, which is great. You get to have a ton of ammo, so you don't have to worry about that. So you can kind of like, prioritize other things you want to carry. Ultimate excels, grenades, whatever it is, you get a ton of ammo. And, movement and movement abilities are always really, really valuable to have for someone. So the fact that she has movement and can take that as a solo player, or supporting her team, or just getting out of dodge, and she's a support as well. Let's just add that as a 4th. She can get your banners back. There's some value here. I like Loba. I specifically like her a lot in ranked, and of course casual play. High level play, it will become kind of a pull and push on when there's room. But if she's in a final zone, watch out, because she has access to everything. She's stealing Krabers. She's stealing grenades. They don't have to move. A Loba team, like, all that fighting happens. They throw that ultimate down. They grab everything they need while you guys are trying to shield swap and this and that. They're just standing there in their safe spot. They don't have to move. They keep pressure. So I really, really like this character if, again, they can get to top 5 zones. Okay, we've got another legend that we're going to be talking about here. And there's actually a new zone called Wildcard. So I'll leave you guys a chance to guess who you think is in there. We're going to put this legend here, Mirage, in the D tier, unfortunately. Mirage, in my opinion, is just a character that is It's just more of one of those character. It's not really correct to say characters, but it's a character that gives character to the game. I don't know if you guys. It's a legend that gives character to the game. Like, oh, and then there's Mirage. Like, wow, what a wacky style to play. And they've been trying to make that more and more viable. So at least up until ranked, you could still play and enjoy Mirage. There will always be a few Mirage ranked grinders who will have 10, 20, 30, 40,000 kills. And they'll say, I'm that Mirage guy. Congratulations. But in terms of high level play, I don't see it happening. I almost never see it happening. If we get to a world where this is going to be the case, somebody help me. Somebody slap me, because I really don't think Mirage will ever have enough of team-wide utility to take a spot away from any of these characters that we're talking about. They just provide so much. And you know what? At the end of the day, I think that's okay. I think it's fine that a few legends just aren't going to be at that spot. This is not representative of Mirage not being able to be played. And really none of this is representative of a character not being able to be played. This is a ranking based on these characters against each other and the ultimate use case and value that they bring to the entire game of Apex Legends, across casual, across ranked, and across the ALGS, which is a very important metric to consider. All right, moving on. You guys know I've talked about Mirage 1,000 times. You don't need to do that. Ashe. Okay, so Ashe is here. Ashe is a character that I think could easily jump up, but I wanted to put Ashe here to just bring some awareness onto this character, because what is it really missing with Ashe? She's got a really good tactical. Like, it's so good that, like, if you use it on someone, you probably kill them. Her ultimate seems like it should be great. Instant mobility to a location for all your teammates. What's like her passive? Okay, not the most used passive in the game, not the most like obvious passive. It's a little complicated. Not an instant value, right? But it's there. I think Ashe is probably a character that eventually needs a rework. I just think the role that she fills, it's too obscure, and ultimately she's got a lot of cool things about her. But if the perks didn't change it, if the ability to throw your arc star and shoot didn't change it, I'm not sure anything's going to change it without her kind of being reborn again, kind of like Revenant. So I would love to wait and see, but I would like your advice on what you think would really make Ashe viable. I certainly think there's so many elements of what to pick from the original kit, but whether it's the original kit and something you'd change, or whether it's a new ability you'd give her in replacement, let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that for sure. Part of it might even just be like, hey, the fact that I can't go back and forth on my ultimate. Like, I know you gave it as a restriction, but I want to go back and forth. I don't want to just have to go at certain points, right? Like, I want to have two. I want to be able to not back and forth, like back to where I came from. I want to go there, and then I want to go there. And I want to be able to do that with 5 seconds in between, so I can kind of fake people out, then go back again. That gives me that true mobility that I need as a stalker. She's got to have something that makes her dangerous. I just don't think she has enough. The arc star, the arc snare, while it is so good, it's just not enough, man. I'll take a knuckle cluster most of the time just because it's just repeated, good, easy value. And that's just the way I honestly feel about Ashe. Octane. Octane's a great legend, man. One of the most popular legends. You really can't say anything bad about Octane. He's just fun. And unlike Mirage, that is heyday in the Pro League. Combined Revenant, Octane, that's a dangerous push. In ranked, these two can get along very well. In ranked, these two can get along very well. In ranked, you can see tons of elements that an Octane can provide value in. Provides vertical mobility, one of the only other legends in this list that does, with the jump pad. But obviously has to hurt himself to do it. Any little bit of advantage you need in terms of health, that's tough. And that was one of the things when they nerfed him originally after the Revenant Death Totem push that they had, that stayed and kind of hurt, right? Just taking more and more health away from him when he stemmed. Now, it was a good metric because it did bring him down a notch. It was a lever. And they changed that with the perks by adding the ability to take less damage from your stem earlier. But I think Octane is someone who hasn't gotten much better with perks, hasn't gotten much more interesting with perks. And also this season is kind of, while other characters have had bigger stories about them to have impact on the game, he really hasn't had much of a plot. So I wonder what's in store for him. I actually really, and the other thing to think about is, should he be even faster? Like, I don't know. I forget the number that he gets to, but I know 30% is what, 33%, whatever it is what Bangalore, Bloodhound, these characters get. Does Octane get that too? Does he go 50% faster? Maybe he should. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because of how speedy he is. And that's his whole thing. Maybe there's an element on more distance to the jump pad that he should have. I don't quite know, but these are hard levers to pull one way or the other because they significantly impact the other two players on his team. You give that jump pad even more distance, well, suddenly it becomes a thing again, and players are just using it the way they're using a Pathfinder zip. So I'm okay with them sitting there, but for ranked casual, I mean, have fun. Octane is what a blast of a character as well. Here's a character that's in a weird position. I'm putting Newcastle as a D, and here's why I'm putting Newcastle as D. Because he's in the zone of needing something bigger to be used. Octane, Ash, Mirage could easily go down to E. He could. In fact, compared to these legends, I would put Mirage in E. These three legends right here all need something significant to be used. And while we thought he might have gotten it where his perk now allows the shield, Newcastle can now block arc, stars, grenades all the way up here, so that essentially he has a wider range of defensiveness, kind of like what Wattson does for grenades, trying to get through through them. It's not enough. His riot shield moves, his mobile shield moves faster. Not enough. What is enough? What is it? What's the metric? What's the taking more health away and reducing the distance on the jump pad that makes that big impact? What's that for Newcastle? That makes it the other way. These are questions that designers and developers have to answer, because it hasn't been being able to block ordinances. It hasn't been your shield to move faster. The truth, I feel, is that Newcastle is just a very, very hard character to play. Like, you're juggling playing Apex, and then you're juggling crazy movement, throwing your castle wall down, coordinating that around where you need to go, where your teammates need to go, your mobile shield, where that needs to move. You're constantly pressing the button on where it needs to move, so you're angling yourself, but it's not big enough to fully fight around it. So do you rely on it at all, or do you just use it as like a side thing? There's no clear way to use a lot of these things, and that's why, you look at characters who might be in positions to be more impactful. It's like, well, maybe that's just because very obvious how I can get value out of it. Maybe this one is a very hard thing to get value out of. And so I think making him more readable, I don't know if it's what tweak is going to do it, but I certainly hope there is one. I think Newcastle is a fun legend. And this is a character that, while being D in terms of effectiveness, in my opinion, overall, has the highest skill ceiling out of almost any other legend here right now. So you will come across a Newcastle that makes you think this is like Achilles. This is like the greatest warrior of all time. You will come across a few of those, and but they'll be few and far between, unfortunately. Okay, so here's a weird one here, guys. I'm gonna throw Gibraltar. This is it. I'm gonna throw Gibraltar. I had him at E last time. Okay, in the recent season 21, the thing that didn't get produced. I just don't know if Gibby is going to be relevant for a very, very long time. And part of it is that feels like a bit of a relic of the past. Such a big character, requires so much focus. And can you imagine what would happen when that knuckle cluster shows up, or that mother load, or that Seer Q, whatever it is, and you're just standing there in the middle of Storm Point in the water under a bubble, and it's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh man. And that's what we see. We see a couple teams try to play Gibraltar. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. We've seen it with great players, seen it with okay players. It just doesn't work. And so it's a harsh rating for him this season, and I'll probably move him up next season. But I wanted to leave him here right now so that hopefully there could be a little love given to my boy Gibby, okay? Because he needs some. He really, really does, and it's just got to be. It's got to be. That's all I got to say on that one. Wild cards, I'm gonna leave them here. Wild card for me is actually going to be. I didn't do Ballistic. I think I actually Ballistic was around here. I actually kind of like Ballistic. I played a lot of ranked with Ballistic, and so therefore I'm actually a big fan of this character. I think he got some quality of life changes too to how his perks work to give him level 3s on his sling weapon, which is great. So I'm actually more and more inclined to keep playing Ballistic. The tactical, doubling down the tactical or doubling the size or duration of the tactical is great as well. The Whistler is a really good 1v1 tool. Is it enough of a tool to impact a team and get them into high level pro play? No, it is not. But in terms of ranked, I like Ballistic a lot, up to probably mid platinum. And I liked him a lot all the way heading into that zone. So for what it's worth, I think Ballistic has some potential. Definitely still needs a little bit of love. And probably, to be fair to Ballistic, what I would do is I'd probably have to leave him around here, just because I think Loba and the weird thing is Loba actually shouldn't be here. Here's the truth of this, guys. Loba should not really be here, and but she is. So just don't really pay attention to it. I think Loba's actually probably a little bit better than this. She was on my other list, as you guys can see. I'm trying to give you parity of what I did before I didn't produce it for now, so apologize for a couple of these back and forths, but we'll just leave it and we'll see how it is. The last character that I wanted to put in, and this is actually where I had Loba, which was kind of a wild card, but we'll just talk about Alter for now because we already talked about Loba. Alter is a great legend. Really, really fun. We've actually seen her in Pro League. We've seen her on Alliance, Hockeys, win some great fights, do pretty well in that day. A successful introduction to Apex Legends. I still think this is one of the most like high skill ceiling legends, and also one of the most like I don't got time to learn all this legends that I've seen in a minute, because that is probably the truth as to why people are sticking away from her. She's got a lot of value for sure. I mean, the mobility through walls, the creativity through these areas of how you attack teams or retreats or individually pressure and get back out. The recall potential, 200 meters is literally like half the dang map in Apex Legends. To go back and get res, to reset, there are some, like, once the clear strategy of how to use this becomes available, someone does it and everyone goes, oh, that's OP. This could be like a game defining character. This could be like how you have to play Apex Legends, and it could force a major nerf. But right now, because it's so much, it's so new, and we have thrown these players back into Split, back into playoffs, back into EWC, back into, so many different things like coming up for them. It's been very, very difficult, I think, for anybody to have enough time to truly say, yeah, Alter's good. Alter's good, and we're going to workshop it. I hope to see that change one day. Maybe you guys will be the ones that change it. Maybe we will on the channel and start looking at some cool ways we can use Alter this week. And also, maybe you guys have some ideas on some of these legends that I did not share myself. So leave them down in the comments. Like the video. It really helps a lot. Even if you dislike it. That helps me get more feedback. And as always, guys, I love you. Remember to never give up, never stop gaming. I'll see you all next time.